Welcome back to this new segment of MM Night. Today we will be discussing the murder of Justin Lee Turner. Justin Lee Turner went missing on March 3rd, 1989 in Berkeley County, South Carolina at only 5 years old. In the early hours of the morning, he headed down to his bus stop alone. Usually his stepmother, Megan Turner, accompanied him. However, this time she was way too busy in the shower, and his father was at work. Later that day, Megan waited for the bus to arrive, but Justin never got off, and according to the bus driver's accounts and neighbors, he never made it to the bus that morning. Right after that, Justin was reported missing, and an immediate search began. With it being a missing child, and especially one who should have been at school, a large amount of volunteers gathered March 5th, 1989, 3 days after the disappearance, and were accompanied by a camera crew. The group of volunteers and law enforcement were made to search out surrounding areas, and the family searched the property, while the others checked woods, sheds, piles of trash, anywhere near the home. However, that day, the search ended very quickly, as when the camera crew got to the family's house, Victor Turner discovered his son's body, stuffed inside of a small cabinet in the family's own camper. Justin had been brutally assaulted and murdered by strangulation. One thing that has never sat right with a lot of people, including myself, is the unsettling aspect of the discovery was that the camper that had reportedly been searched multiple times the days prior. However, the body was not found until that moment. This led some people to theorize that the killer may have moved the body days after the disappearance to hurt the family, to just rub in salt into the wound. As hard as the forensic science and as hard as the volunteers searched and tried, they could not pinpoint the killer to anybody. And they tried to solve as quickly as possible. However, a whole year passed, and then another, and then another, and then another. This case sat cold for 35 years due to lack of physical evidence. However, in January of 2024, with improved forensic technology, the arrest was made against two people, Victor and Megan Turner, who were both charged with the murder of Justin Lee Turner. Investigators pointed to several strange behaviors in the 1989 footage that could pinpoint the couple as the main suspects. One of the first, and my personal nail in the coffin, is the fact that Victor found the body within seconds of entering the camper. He headed straight for the specific cabinet. He, almost as if he knew. And then after that, he didn't rush to check Justin's condition, hold him, make sure he was okay, talk to him. He immediately assumed he was dead. One of the most heartbreaking and unsettling facts about the case is many witnesses, parents, later witnessed Megan claim that she had gotten into a scuffle and argument with Justin that morning, and then jokingly proclaimed and laughed, "But I won that fight." To many people, including myself, this is damning evidence enough to convict both parents of multiple accounts. If Victor and Megan Turner had been convicted in South Carolina for death of Justin Lee Turner, they would have faced the state's harshest criminal penalties because of the crime occurring in 1989. However, the arrest and charges would not have been placed in 1989. They would have been placed in 2024. So the first account would be murder. Second account would be criminal or sexual misconduct with a minor. Third, destruction and tampering of evidence. The first charge holds one of two: the death penalty or life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The second one, criminal sexual conduct with a minor, would be charged with up to 30 years. And destruction or tampering of evidence would have given them an additional 15 years. To me, that is not very much to what they have done. However, what surprised most people is that the charges were dropped. The reason for the charges being dropped, on Megan's side, she had double jeopardy. She had already been indicted, same thing, once before in 1990, as she was one of the primary suspects. While 2024 charges were due to lack of new evidence. Also, loss of witnesses. After 35 years, many of the people who were at the scene in 1989 had passed away, meaning the defense could not cross-examine the people who provided the original statements. And finally, one of the craziest things. There was some evidence that suggested that serial killer Richard Avanti was in the area at the time. Though no links could be made to prove that it was him, no links could be made to prove that it wasn't him. So this case was released due to no legal conclusion. This is one of those cases that, in my opinion, is black and white, as both parents possessed a mountain of criminal evidence to indict them for their own son's murder. However, what I don't understand is, for the father of Justin Lee Turner, why did he help his wife hide the body? What was the purpose? And why did he allow someone to do that much harm to his child, that much wrong? Because by proven evidence, Victor Turner was not at home at the time of the assault and at the time of the murder. He was at work. The only person that could have done it was Megan Lee Turner. And that is just heartbreaking, because a life of what could have been a bright young man was taken by one of the worst things. I won't get into details because it's very graphic, very gory, but the child was sexually assaulted, brutally beaten, and then strangled to death. One of the saddest parts is to put yourself in that situation and think of being a child. People, family, mother, father are supposed to protect you. And in my opinion, in this case, there is enough evidence to prove that the stepmother who was supposed to protect him was the one that took his life in one of the most heinous ways possible.